Vancouver actor Donald Heng, and he's here today to talk about his in-demand acting career and how he follows a healthy lifestyle. Welcome to the show, Donald.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. And how do you follow a healthy lifestyle, being such an in-demand actor at this time?
Well, it's funny that I'm doing this interview with you because I run every day. I definitely run every day. I try to hit, I hit at least 5 kilometers, and if I can, I go up to 10 or so, and then I work out pretty much every other day. I feel more energetic, and yeah, it kind of balances the, it allows me to eat foods that I don't normally want to eat.
But running, does it help you, de-stress and think about your lines?
Yes. That's actually a learning technique for me too. It's, I think it's all got to do with breathing. And when I'm in the room, sometimes when I feel nervous, it's like you can't control your breathing. But whenever I get an audition come through and I have a few pages of lines or whatever, I take it on the seawall, 100%.
That's right.
And yeah, and it helps. It's time for you to just run, and then you can remember your lines, and it kind of helps with your breathing when you're in that heightened breathing mode. And it helps, I think, in the audition room for sure.
So you work out almost every day, like every other day you were saying?
Right, yeah, I run at least 5 to 6 times a week, and then
Wonderful.
every other day, at least every other day I work out, yeah.
That's great. And so tell me, how did you fall into acting?
I did it ever since I was a kid, I guess, on stage, like school productions and stuff like that. But it never really was a real career choice for me. I think coming from an Asian background, it's very not typically supported by your parents. Unfortunately for me, my parents have been always very supportive. But they've been supportive to the point of where it's like, you give it 3 years, or you give it 5 years, and if you can't make it, then you gotta just call it quits. But I went to SVU, and I studied political science and history. And about halfway through, I just thought, I have to give this a shot. I don't know how I'm gonna get into it, but I just gotta. And I signed up to study with a teacher named Jed Beach. And I think it was while I was studying with him that I just really found the meaning of acting, so to speak. I have to admit that beforehand, it kind of attracted me because just the lifestyle that you see on the tabloids and the newspapers and stuff, it's just an attractive lifestyle. It's very flexible, and if you get to that level, it's very flexible. But I would say the first 3 years really just knocked me on my feet, and I just thought this is not what it's about, and it is not that easy to get there. And you really have to love what you do to pursue this kind of lifestyle. And I think with Jeb, he really ingrained that in me. He found the meaning behind it for me.
It's your passion, but it's not that glamorous. It's a lot of hard work.
It's a lot of hard work. I mean, I think for a lot of actors, I would say for the first few years, you're breaking even or you're running a negative for sure. Yes. Like you're investing a lot of money into it and a lot of time. And there's not many jobs you can kind of complement with acting. I bartend at night, but during the day I have a lot of free time. I run every day. Yeah, and then when I have time to work my lines, I work my lines.
Yes.
So it's when I have an audition come in, so to speak, I have the time I need to really work on it. So my life is really not that difficult. No. But it is a lot harder and takes a lot more work than a lot of people realize, I think.
Right. And what about, you want to be a police officer?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a police officer. And I feel like it kind of ties in with what I watched on TV, and I don't know. I think an aspect of it was like kind of wanting to help people and kind of be in that kind of community kind of thing.
But you may not be a police officer, but you got to play, and you are playing, right? So tell us about that. The role.
Yeah, Ghost Wars.
Yes.
Yeah. Being able to play a police officer was definitely one of the things. I loved it. Every day when I woke up and I got to put on the uniform, it made me feel like a kid. I think in the same way someone would be able to play a superhero or something. It was just something about it that really stuck with me when I was a kid. And so, yeah, being able to play a cop was big for me.
Is there another role that you would like to play other than the police officer?
Not in particular, I don't think.
A marathoner, maybe? A runner?
A runner?
Yes.
No, I never really thought about that. But if you talk about like a dream role or historical figure and stuff, I would have to go back to my Chinese roots and say someone like Bruce Lee or something.
Oh,
You know, probably the most fit man in history.
that's great. No, and I want to know, so Ghost War is a TV series.
Right.
Right. And you can catch it on Netflix, correct?
Netflix in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you tell us about the filming, where it was filmed.
It was filmed in areas in Squamish, Langley, and then actually the Canada Post building that's not
Canada.
far from here.
What was that like?
It's it's huge in there, and it's kind of confusing, to be honest. To give you a kind of example of how confusing it was in there. The first day I think I was working on the show, or it could be a different show, but they shoot a lot of shows in there, and there's at any given time 3 or 4 different shows. There was one time I was shooting, I believe it was Ghost Wars, if not Van Helsing, and I had hit the elevator, and someone told me to go up this elevator, and when it opened, I walked in and I just saw cameras everywhere, and they were yelling action, quiet on set.
Oh no.
And I saw the back, like the jackets that people were wearing, it says Supernatural. And I was like, oh crap. I just like walked back into the elevator and I was just like hitting the button and like close. It's cool. It's a cool place up there.
And really congratulations on your first feature film, Fatal Visit.
Thanks.
Yeah, so tell us about that role. Was it challenging? Or?
It had its own challenges for sure. I think the language aspect. I grew up speaking Chinese, but I hadn't spoken in a long time. And especially breaking down the script and reading it, it was a little bit difficult for me. But my parents, fortunately, speak perfect Chinese, so I ran it with them a lot of times before I went to the audition. And yeah, getting the role itself was amazing, and I didn't really expect it, to be honest. And the day before shooting, I looked up the cast list because they had just announced it, and I couldn't even read the characters because it was in Chinese, but I sent it to my parents, and my parents freaked out. Because it was some of their favorite actresses on it. So, and then once I looked up the people who were in it, I totally recognized them. I'm like, I've seen these people when I was a kid. I watched them in movies and stuff. So it was definitely exciting for me. Yeah.
Yes, and so for the role you had to learn Cantonese and Taiwanese as well?
I know Cantonese. I spoke it for 7 years in elementary school. I went to classes for it. My parents also brought me up speaking Mandarin. And
Donald, what about Fatal Visit? Anything exciting that happened on set?
Yeah, the girl who plays, Sammy Chang, she was super nice, and most of my scenes were with her. And just being able to talk to her and stuff was just cool in and of itself.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I didn't want to make things awkward, so I waited till the last day I was working, and then I asked her for a photo, just for my mom. My mom was all smiles. I think my mom was showing it to all her friends.
It's exciting for you, and also tell how it was working with directors, high-profile actors beside you. How was that? Tell us a story.
Vincent D'Onofrio on Ghost Wars.
Yes.
I was such a huge fan of him, and I have been such a huge fan of him. Watching his work from Full Metal Jacket, he's in Men in Black. He's the villain. I don't know if you know, the alien dude. He's such a great actor, and then I think around the time I was auditioning for Ghost Wars, he had just finished Daredevil season 2, and I had binge watched it through Netflix, and I was like, this guy's so incredible. And when his name got announced as part of the show, I was just flabbergasted. I was like, I can't believe I get to work with this guy. And yeah, I think the first interaction I ever had with him was at the Canada Post building, where there was a break in between scenes, and we were going to relax for about half an hour, and he's walking out, he's going to the rooftop for a cigar, and he walks by me, and he looks at me, and he goes, do you want one? And he's got a box of these Cohiba cigars, and I just look at it, and I can't believe he's talking to me, and I just go, yeah, I'll do some. And he looks at me and he goes, do some? It's not drugs. It's just a cigar. And I was like, yeah, I know. But I've never smoked a cigar in my life. But I just couldn't turn down the offer of being able to share a cigar with Vincent D'Onofrio. So we went up to the rooftop, and we had a cigar there for about half an hour, and I think he knew that I have never smoked a cigar because I inhaled it, and apparently you're not supposed to.
Oh, yeah.
I was coughing I was just coughing nonstop. And yeah, he was such a nice guy. He had a great conversation with me and Jesse Moss, who plays Deputy Norm. He basically told us that while I'm on the show, if you need any help with any auditions, whatever, just let me know.
Oh. What is next for you, Donald?
Well, I was in LA helping my friend move actually, and I came back here because I had a callback for another feature film. This time it's going to be in the States. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to share it just yet, but
Yes.
hopefully things work out my way, and then we can share about it another time maybe.
Well, I'd love for you to come back on the show and keep running.
I will.
Yes, and if people want to follow you, where can they go? On Twitter?
Twitter, yeah. Twitter, it's just my name, Donald Heng. Instagram is the reverse of that. It's Heng Donald.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me.
And we'll be right back after this break.